Hey, what's up, everybody? It's the Dismal Collective here. Just wanted to come on here and make a really quick video for you all tonight about ADF, about fasting, and about a specific type of fasting that I've been implementing for the last 3 weeks and the benefits that I have had conferred to me as a result, what I feel the advantages are of this approach as opposed to others, and I'm going to talk about the initial motivational push and why so many people fall off the wagon when it comes to fasting, because this is something that I've been doing and experimenting with over the last few years a lot, and I've tried all different types of IM or intermittent fasts, and I think that I've found the best one. But again, the best means best for me given my circumstances, my habits, my inclinations, and my schedule and routine, etc. All of these things. So what's good for me may not be good for you, but we're going to go into that. So this was a video that was requested by a one Gory6543. He says, "Hey CD, I just watched Chud Chronicles 8 and would love if you could make a video on fasting where you go into more detail about it than in the stream if possible. I found your insight quite fascinating, and it has motivated me to try to fast again." Then he goes on to say here, he says, "I would like to know how to stay motivated while just getting into fasting, as I usually give up. I believe in the stream you said it took around a year of training, but the information about the health benefits is also very interesting. Thank you." So I'm not in much of like a big brain mood tonight. I'm not in much of a science-y mood. So I'm going to keep this video pretty anecdotal and pretty subjective. So we want to know about the initial, how to stay motivated in that initial period before the habit is formed, which is the most difficult part. And depending on, there's so many factors you have to consider, right? Are you an endomorph? Are you an ectomorph? Are you trying to gain weight? Are you trying to lose weight? Like all of these things, right? Now, I have to stress the point that fasting, intermittent fasting, is not a diet. It is a time constraint on when you eat and nothing more. And that's a very relevant point. You're going to see why as we go forward, because all we're going to be doing initially is playing with that window. So I don't want you to think about, healthy foods, unhealthy foods, macros, micros, anything like that. I just want you thinking about the duration between meals and what is optimal. And I'm going to explain why I find ADF superior to OMAD. ADF, alternative day fasting, superior to one meal a day. Now, this time last year, I had a pretty much like a Monday to Thursday job, like a typical 9 to 5. I would start at the same time, finish at the same time, pretty much every day. And I was doing OMAD, and it was working fairly well. It was working pretty well. So basically, I would get up in the morning and just grab a black coffee and, maybe a can of bubbly water like I'm drinking right now. Maybe just a normal bottle of water. Maybe put some electrolyte powder in it, maybe not. And then I would just go out the door and that's it. And for lunch, I would grab another coffee and go back to work. And by the end of the day, I'd be ready to eat. And I would come home and throw some pork belly in the air fryer and have a little bit of whatever, a little bit of slop. And then that'd be it till the next day. I'd have a coffee in the evening, and I could pretty much just perpetually maintain that that routine. Um, oh, the bubbly does it to me, I swear. It's like my 10th can today. I hope it's not made in Israel, but um, I could pretty much move that in because my work schedule was very fixed and very dialed in, and I always found for that reason that the days off were the most difficult to do this on, because it would be, I'd wake up at 11 a.m. and it's like, fuck, I got, 6 hours to go before I can eat and blah, blah, blah. And then it gets easier to say, oh, I wasn't supposed to eat till 5, but it's 4 now, or it's 3:45, and that's pretty much 5. Your body works on approximations and not exactitude, and we're just going to start eating now. And, it gets away from you. It gets easy to let yourself go. And now that I have this other job that sometimes requires me to work in the morning, sometimes requires me to work at night, like for example, I'm going to be working at 8 a.m. It's currently 12:30, after midnight. So I'm going to be working in 7 hours. And then the following day I work at 8 p.m. till probably, 2 a.m. or whatever. And so this makes OMAD very difficult because I'm sleeping, sometimes I'm going to bed at 11 p.m., sometimes I'm going to bed at 4 a.m. Like, it's all over the place, right? Depending, I'm kind of going one day at a time. What time do I got to work tomorrow? Okay, I plan my sleep accordingly. Being able to just have one day where you're eating and one day where you're not is so much more organizationally effective when you have a non-fixed, like non-9 to 5 style life, which most of my listeners probably don't. Most of you aren't like waking up and going into work at the same time every day, Monday to Friday, like clockwork. For those of you who are OMAD, might be better, but there's reasons why I think it might not be too, because when you're eating every day, even though it's only one meal or like a meal and a snack, or maybe, 2 meals, it's easy to still get fat, almost to the point where you don't even feel like you're fasting. It's harder to tap into ketosis, I think, when you are eating every single day. You have to pay more attention to what you're eating. Whereas when I only eat every second day, it ends up to be pretty much like a 36-hour window, because it's not 24, 24, 24, 24. You have to think I'm sleeping, right? So I'm pretty much going to get 2 sleeps in before I eat again. And it ends up to be something like 30 to 40 hours or whatever, right? And then I eat again. So it ends up being like a 36-12, let's say, very roughly. I don't count it. I don't have to count, because I just know today's either an eating day or it's not, right? Eating day or not. And today was an eating day, so I'll give you an example, right? Like, I went into work for 6 a.m. this morning. I worked till 2 p.m., and all I had throughout the day was black coffee. I didn't have any calories at all when I woke up until the time I got off work. Because when you're busy, you don't need to eat, right? You just don't need to eat. And so, I got off at 2 and I swung by the pizza store, and I got 4 slices of pizza, which is like a quarter of a pie or whatever. I didn't want to buy a whole pizza because I knew I had food at home, so I bought that. And then I went home and I took a nap for a little bit. And then when I woke up, I went out and barbecued. I barbecued 3 hamburgers and 2 big fucking jumbo Costco hot dogs. And I ate those hamburgers on little English muffins that I toasted. And then I drank 2 liters of chocolate milk. And after that, I was like, starting to feel kind of disgusted. I still had some Jamaican patties that were there, which I was like planning to eat, but I just passed on them. I said, that's going to be too disgusting if I go and eat that now. And so we're not going to do that. And so this is important too. This is very important. I want to talk about this, and this is almost going to directly answer the question that was asked of me in the request to make this video. Was how do you stay motivated in the initial period not to just give up on these fasts? Now, one thing that I like to do is on some of the eating days, I like to eat a little too much at that last meal. Just a little bit. I don't want to be throwing up in the toilet. But you want to eat just a little too much to where you feel like I don't even want to look at food. Food makes me fucking sick. Food is disgusting. Oh, I feel so uncomfortable. I don't want this in me anymore. And that gives you kind of the motivation to say, okay, tomorrow I'm not going to eat at all. I'm just going to drink some cold water. I'm going to maybe have some tea, some black coffee. I'm going to smoke some cigarettes or smoke tobacco from my pipe. And that's it. I'm just going to I'm going to enjoy not feeling this fucking sick from food. I think that disgust response can work to your advantage when trying to start a fast. One of the things you want to be really careful about with fasting, I find, is that you can easily create like a negative association in your mind with fasting if you're too aggressive about it. If you're like trying to treat it like as if you would approach a workout where it's like no pain, no gain, you gotta fucking grind, you gotta, like, if you have this David Goggins type mentality about fasting, you will have some, initial results. You'll have this initial transformation where you'll be able to see in yourself your clothes are starting to hang off you and you're starting to be able to go longer and longer. But all the while you're building up this negative association, and it comes to a head to where you just you don't have the willpower to start the next fast. Okay, you just don't do it. You want to go easy. It's more like stretching. It's more like meditation or something. You want to be gentle with this. So if it starts getting to the point where you just really don't feel good, don't be afraid to just fail the fast, because you're going to do another one and another one and another one. Don't be afraid to just fail it, but you got to get right back on the horse and say, okay, that's fine. You started feeling dizzy, or you started feeling weak, or you started feeling lightheaded, and etc. And so you gave in and you had a Gatorade. That's totally okay. That's what we want. We want some, generosity. We want to be a little bit nice to ourselves when we're doing this, because remember, we're still in the pre-habit formed phase of this whole thing. And I know myself, I have a very strong addiction to slop, and it's exacerbated by working out and lifting weights and stuff like that. People say, oh, you're lifting weights, you're going to get healthier, you're going to get in better shape. All that's ever happened to me when I lift weights is that I start getting stronger. I'm able to lift more weights as my technique improves, as my muscles get, stronger to accommodate the resistance or whatever. I start getting a lot of strength, and then I get this insatiable appetite, and nothing will hit the spot except really high glycemic carbohydrate foods like muffins and pizzas and fucking Jamaican patties with fucking hash browns on the side and all this crap, right? And so I end up gaining all this muscle, but I end up gaining all this fat to go along with it and all this strength. It's like this total package that I've never figured out how to separate, muscle gain from fat gain. They just come as a package deal for me. So I could be like a really skinny guy, or I could be like a big muscly fat guy, but I can't be a lean big guy. I don't know how I would have to do that, because I can't eat clean or else I go mental. Like, I actually become mentally fucking ill and I start going off the walls when I'm trying to eat too clean. An alternative day fasting, it gives me enough of a window between each meal. And ideally, I almost want to move up to like every third day I eat. So like a fasting intermittent window where I don't eat for 2 days and then I can just basically binge out on the third day, but then I'm right back on the pony again. They say you can't out-train a bad diet, meaning like if you're eating nothing but slop and Pepsi and cake and fucking Dairy Queen, even if you're jogging every day, doing cardio till the cows come home, you're still going to be like a fat cunt, right? You're going to be like a proper fat cunt. And I agree with that. You know, you can't really, if you're trying to lose weight and get ripped or whatever, you cannot out-train a bad diet. But I think you can out-fast a bad diet. And that's sort of what, well, technically, you have to be able to, right? Like it's, technically, that has to be the case. It's assured. Because if you simply put enough time between eating windows, eventually it's going to offset no matter how much crap and slop you're eating. And I have a much easier time refraining from food altogether for 1 day, 2 days, 3 days. That's fine. But when I do eat, when it is time to refuel, when it is time to reward, I don't want to eat a fucking kale salad. I want to eat Domino's. I want to eat some crap. You know, like within reason. I'm not saying go like just, you know, break the bank at Taco Bell. That's not what we're talking about here. But we are saying don't be afraid to just go all out with it and enjoy like whatever you have to eat on that day, because you have the day to eat and it doesn't have to be at any given time. You don't, you know, you still might not want to eat until 2 p.m. on that day, or maybe you want to wake up first thing in the morning and start eating. But the other thing I'm going to say, and this is number one most important fucking thing, bookmark this. You have to sleep. And that's my biggest problem. I don't sleep at night. I'm a caffeine addict. I'm an adrenaline junkie. I'm a fucking this and that, right? I'm a stress cell. I don't sleep at night. When you don't sleep, the hormone that's responsible for making you feel hungry, that's when you feel your stomach's growling and that pain. Oh, I'm so hungry. That pain, you're going to get to, that feeling's going to become your buddy. And at first, it's going to seem like you can't defeat it. But after a while, after a couple fasts, after a couple weeks, you'll recognize that pain as like a non-factor. It'll just be there, it'll be present, you'll be aware of it, but it won't capture you the way that it does initially. And that hormone responsible for that is ghrelin, the hunger hormone. And ghrelin production is increased, they say, by as much as 1/3 or like 35% or something like that when you're overtired. So, and this is absolutely the case. This absolutely lines up with my experience and reality very consistently and reliably, is that when I'm fucking tired, those nights when I had to go to work on 3 hours sleep and it was a fasting day, I had to grit it out. Like, it was really tough not to eat on those days. And it's not just eating in general. You crave trash. You crave root beer, you crave hot dogs, you crave nacho cheese, and like you crave the worst shit, right? When you sleep well at night, your diet automatically inclines you, your preferences automatically incline you toward a cleaner diet. No discipline required. It's just it's sort of a freebie that we're just given, like biologically, is that when you're well slept, you're well rested, you don't have the same kind of attraction to these shitty, sugary foods and stuff like that. You tend to gravitate more toward like whole foods and lean meat and stuff like that. If you're not sleeping, you are not going to have the willpower to maintain fasting for any, sustained duration of time or whatever. So some people shouldn't even be trying to fast because they have to figure out the riddle of why they don't sleep at night. That's kind of the case with me. Like, it might be, intimately bound up with your caffeine addiction and all of this. It may be like a complex knot to untangle or a riddle to unravel as to like why you're not sleeping well in the first place. It might be that your phone is the blue lights in it are causing you to wake up artificially, or it could be that you have an addiction to pornography that's kind of keeping you like in this constant state of like stimulation and stuff at certain times of night. Like, there could be a lot going on there with why you're not sleeping, and then that everything dietary wise is going to be downstream from that. So 100% you gotta get your sleep in order before you can apply any of this stuff. But if you figure out those two things, you're really gonna dial in your whole fucking life. You just feel like when you have not eaten in 30 hours and you've slept. The thing is too is that they kind of like blend into one another though, because when you're fasting you don't really need much sleep. So they lend themselves to one another, I guess you could say. Like, when you're well fasted, it's amazing how much energy your body uses just for the sake of digestion during the day. And it has to catch up on all of that at night. Whereas when you have shut down your digestive system because it's no longer in use and you have all that free energy to go to your brain and to go, making you feel good in other ways, you don't really need sleep. 4 hours, 5 hours a night is just as good as 9 on the days when you're not fasting. And again, people don't need to eat this much. You're not a bodybuilder. You're not a fucking power lifter or a swimmer. Most of you guys are just kind of rotters. You just sit around and basically play video, and you don't need to be constantly eating and eating and eating and eating. You're pretty much like a drug addict at that point. You're doing the same thing as they do. It's not obviously as like intense or whatever, but it's the same kind of needless self-indulgence that you really ideally should do without. There's no way to justify somebody who only walks 500 steps a day eating all of this food. They're doing it for the taste. It's almost like kind of gooning in a way, but it's your taste buds instead of your fucking nerve endings. Like, you want to get that in check. And then just to close out this video, I guess, the ultimate fucking thing is going to be dry fasting. However, most people aren't even remotely qualified to safely or intelligently or sustainably, most importantly, sustainably dry fast. And I'm included in that camp because I have a coffee addiction that I have not quite figured out yet. I think the key for me is going to be my newfound rediscovery and love of tobacco. really helps me on those days when I'm fasting, because I just treat it like a meal. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go smoke a bowl in my tobacco pipe, and it really just kills the hunger pains automatically. It makes fasting so fucking easy. That's why I've had so much more success sticking with this one. Like, fasting with as a smoker is just so fucking easy. But I still do have like a physical dependence on caffeine and coffee. And so that makes it basically impossible for me to do a dry fast, because I get headaches. By 5 p.m., if I haven't had a coffee all day, I'm getting a headache. And so ultimately, like, if you want to talk perfect scenario, picture perfect optimization of your health, you get your sleep in order first. That's gonna, you're probably gonna have to address things like if you have a porn addiction. That's a whole nother rabbit hole. That could take you a year to fucking figure out. If you just have a phone addiction in general, where you're not watching porn, but you're watching reels and you're watching shorts and you're watching slop or whatever, right? Like, one solution to that I found that works is to put something on, like a nice video or whatever, that you don't really need to visually watch. You can listen to it, and then place the phone face down and listen to that for some time. So at least you're not getting that exposure to the blue light right before you go to bed, so you can increase the quality of your sleep that way. I spend the last like hour awake just listening to like some true crime slop or some episode of whatever the fuck, right? And just giving my eyes a little bit of a break. So you get your sleep in order, and then that gets your food cravings in order, and you're able to settle into this alternative day fasting routine. And if you're able to get off the coffee, then you are able to start doing dry fasts. Now, dry fasts are autophagy on steroids. Like, there are things that happen to your body during a dry fast that just do not happen to it during a water fast. And now you should go subscribe to the channel Dr. August Dunning. He's the foremost authority about dry fasting. It'll kill the parasites in you that incline you toward eating this crappy food. All kinds of benefits. Dry fasting shuts down your diuretic hormone, so you stop urinating basically, and your body starts learning how to use the internal water, as it's called. And when it starts to use your body for fat, in order to convert the fat to ketones for energy, it also utilizes the water contained in your cells, cellular perspiration, like a camel, right? Humans are actually able to fucking make our own internal water like a camel. You don't need to be drinking water all the time. In fact, you're not supposed to be, because the problem that you're going to find is that the entire human body, our entire reward system, our entire cognition, everything about us presupposes scarcity. We're like a scarcity animal, but we live in abundant conditions. And so you have to somehow be able to not eat or not fap or not whatever, right? Addict to your phone, even though it's right there. People in the past were doing dry fasts all the time, but they didn't have to have discipline. Discipline wasn't a component of it. They just had genuine scarcity, something that we don't have. So it's 100 times harder for us. And we don't live in a culture that has any shame either. I can, use my freaking phone to whack it to porn 300 times a day, and nobody's going to say boo to me because they'll say, well, he's over 18 and that makes him a sovereign and he can, every man's a little island. And I don't agree, but I'll fight to the death for his right to do it. And they'll say, so it's all on you. I can't help you. Fucking nobody can help you but you. And you have to somehow pretend you're in this state of scarcity. And when you do, your body responds to it so fucking well. Performative wise, just to feel everything. You feel so good in your skin when you haven't eaten and when you're not tired and when you're not, all slopped up and carved up and dindu brained from eating fucking croutons and Pepsi and all of that, So hopefully that video gets to the point. My goal, I should state, is to keep up alternative day fasting until February. And again, they say there's so much to go into. I'm not like a science-brained enough to, I'm not researched enough on the details of this to really go into depth at that level off the cuff like this. But there are a lot of benefits simply derivable from the caloric, not the caloric, but the deficit window on its own, regardless of caloric surplus, regardless of the food types that you eat. Or what I mean is they've studied this on rats quite a bit. And, you have these two sample groups of rats and you give them the exact same diet, right? They're allotted the same foods, the same portions every day. But for one group, you constrain it all to a fasting window, pretty much, to a feeding window. Say they have like 6 hours to consume it. And for the other 18 hours, they don't touch a morsel of food. And then the other group, you have them eat the exact same food articles and portions, but it's spread out across the entire day. The ones who are doing this with the fasting and feeding window always come away with vastly superior health markers, less insulin resistance, stuff like this, less presence of inflammation and free radicals in the body and metabolic fatigue and stuff like this. So I don't even want people to think about like what they're eating. Think about when you're eating. The timing, right? How long are you sleeping? I think people can implement the same exact strategy with fapping too. I'm going to start introducing alternate day fapping into my regimen where I'm only gooning every second day and then I don't touch my dick on the other days. And I could probably have it like alternate with my feeding and my food day, right? So maybe I can goon on days when I don't eat. And then maybe on the days when I eat, I don't touch my dick. Something like that. So I'm still trying things out on myself here, but I've already learned a lot about this so far, and hopefully by making this video I can like pass some of that on to you guys. But yeah, sleep, and just don't eat every other day, period. It's that fucking simple. And food tastes a million times better when you wake up in the morning after a fast. It's the first thing you're gonna think of. Is it an eating day? Yes. Okay, fucking sick. This is awesome. So excited to eat food. Normal fats don't get that because they're just always stuffing their fucking their gullet or whatever. They don't have this, they don't delay their gratification. And so their gratification is dulled. It's dampened and diminished. They don't really earn it. Whereas when you haven't eaten for 36 hours and you do that multiple times a week, like, you've earned whatever food you're eating, and it shows. It tastes better, you feel better about it, you're excited about it. And on the days when you're not eating, you just tell yourself, hey, we'll get through it, the day will fly by. I'll just smoke a little bit in the pipe, I'll just kind of read my book a little bit, like, I'll do other shit, I'm gonna watch a movie. Movies are really good. Movies will really take your mind off of being hungry. Another thing is using one addiction to kind of quell another, right? Like, when you're on your phone all the time, it's not good, but it can distract you from hunger. So you can play these addictions, like, off of one another. Like, I had a friend of mine, was saying the other day that he's very lazy, and I guess he lives alone. And he lives alone at an apartment, so he's got to prepare, like, whatever food he eats is like whatever he shopped for and whatever he prepared. He doesn't have, like, snacks on hand all day like I do. Like, when you live at home with your parents, right? You just have, like, constant fucking everything's stocked up. So he's like a lazy ADHD cell, but it works in his favor because sometimes his laziness wins out over his, like, willingness to go shop and buy food and prepare it and stuff like that. So he ends up fasting out of laziness. Like, that's another example of where one, like, negative trait can almost sort of defeat another one. And if you're intelligent about this enough, you can actually, I think, like, find your way out of the labyrinth. Somewhere there's this, like, combination of things that you just, if you do them in the right order and you go about it in just the right way, you will find your way back to, like, peak optimal health and healthy lifestyle habits and stuff like that. So hopefully that helps you guys, and I'm gonna go to bed. Dismal days indeed.